Hello everyone, today is the last day in July and I wanted to give you a midsummer update on the raised garden bed. I planted this garden in mid-June, a little late, but we were traveling and got distracted with other things, so the plants didn't get into the ground until about 6 weeks ago. I started all of these plants from seeds way before that, and the weather here was cold until June, so they wouldn't have been able to get into the ground much before that anyway. And as you can see, the plants are all doing really well. This is technically called a square foot garden. It is 4 feet across and it is 16 feet long. That's 2 8-foot sections put together to make a 16-foot long garden from one end to the other. It's called a square foot garden after the technique published in a book by Mel Bartholomew. 2 4 by 8 foot beds gave me 64 square feet of growing space, and I know it sounds strange, but I think I need a much bigger garden next year. In the past, I've been very disappointed with the deer coming through my yard and eating from my garden, and I had given up on gardening, but was recently inspired to try again. This time, with my husband's help, we constructed a PVC structure to enclose the garden area. And I'm happy to say the deer still visit my yard, but they have not touched the plants. So far, so good. I planted 4 varieties of tomatoes in this first bed. This bed is only tomatoes. The other bed is for the cucumbers and peppers. I planted 2 determinate varieties of tomatoes and 2 indeterminate varieties. Here we have the Big Daddy. This is an indeterminate variety, which means it will keep growing and growing and growing, and it will put out tomatoes until the frost kills the plant in the fall. They will grow pretty tall, so I'll need to stake them a little bit better. I was thinking of dropping a rope down from the ceiling and then supporting the plant that way. I'll have to figure something out. Now here you have the Roma tomato. That is a determinate variety, so it puts out the tomatoes earlier in the season than the indeterminate, and it will stop growing at a certain height, put out its fruit, and then die. You can see I already have Roma tomatoes growing where the Big Daddy is still at the flowering stage. Now these are cherry tomatoes. They are called Super Sweet 100s, and you can see some fruit already starting to turn red. These are a determinate variety. They will keep growing and setting fruit until the first frost, and these will need to be staked a little better because they're going to grow really tall. As I look around, I see some more clusters of the Super Sweet 100s. They're really very pretty. I have a feeling they're going to be super sweet. And here we have the bush stake tomatoes, and they are a determinate variety, which means they grow to a certain height and set their fruit early before dying. And you can see lots of tomatoes already starting to come out. From this angle, maybe you can't see. When I go on the other side, you'll see a lot more. Now I've done some pruning. I will need to do a little more to keep the area tidy. Pruning is very good for the plant. First of all, by removing the lower branches and leaves of the tomato plant, you allow for better circulation of the air, which helps to prevent diseases and fungus. And also by removing some of the leafy branches, you allow the plant to concentrate on producing more fruit rather than spending its energy on leaf production. Also, pruning leaves lets the sunlight in, so you improve the flow of air and sunlight and let the plant concentrate on making tomatoes instead of making more leaves. All in all, pruning is important for healthy tomato plants. There are some differences in pruning determinate versus indeterminate plants. I'll make a video on that in the future, but in general, the indeterminate plants need more pruning to keep them growing nicely, but you'll need to be more careful when you're pruning the determinate plants not to cut too much. Here you can see the Big Daddy. It's an indeterminate plant, and I pruned a good portion of the lower leaves. It's going to keep growing, so no worries. And I've been trying to keep it as tidy as possible between the rows. I know I have some more pruning and staking to do, but all in all, I'm very happy with the way the tomatoes have turned out so far. One of the rules of a square foot garden is not to make the bed wider than 4 feet. Since the average adult has a reach of 2 feet, it makes it easier to maintain the garden and pull weeds. And there's a little weed. If I see a weed, I pull it up immediately and easily since I can reach in without any trouble. Let's walk around to the other side of the bed, and here you can see the bush stake tomatoes coming in really nicely. There's a whole cluster of bush tomatoes right there. And here are more of the cherry tomatoes. Okay, moving on to the cucumbers. I planted two varieties of cucumbers, the Lunchbox Cukes and the Diva cucumber. You can see here the cucumber plants are really spreading out nicely. Let me go on the other side. On the other side you can see some of the cucumbers starting to come in. There are also a lot of yellow flowers and some small babies. You never know what can be hiding under these big leaves. Sometimes you just need to push aside the leaves and take a look underneath, and sometimes there's a surprise just waiting to be discovered. Wow, they really do a good job hiding. This one is ready to be picked. The first cucumber of the season, yes. Look how nice that looks. And last but not least, we have the pepper plants. I planted 3 different varieties. I planted the Jungle Parrot, the Crispy Hybrid, and a Carnival mix. This one is the Jungle Parrot. You can see a pepper growing, but it still needs to turn red. These are red sweet peppers. Over here we have the Carnival peppers. These are supposed to be a mix of different colors, and you can see these peppers are coming in much lighter in color than the other peppers. And here we have the Crispy Hybrid. This is also a sweet red pepper variety. So that's it for the raised garden bed, but my husband wanted some corn, and since there was no more room in the bed and we didn't dare plant any outside of the enclosed area, he decided to plant some corn seeds in pots, and they are growing nicely. Hopefully they'll produce some nice ears of sweet corn. The corn seeds were sown directly into these pots in mid-June, and they look like they're doing fine. Okay, so that's a midsummer update on the raised garden bed or square foot garden. Please stay tuned for more updates through the summer, and thank you for watching. Bye!